Right,
Because what I'm doing is live action doing this.
Right.
There's no there's no anything but me live action living what's going on right now, and I want people to watch me. And it's like
And hopefully people are sharing this interview right now because this is like breaking news in a way, right?
Yeah, well, yeah.
I mean, we're finding out that
So all the press are starting to really realize, because I've been tenacious, they're like, Sue Costello really has, and it's like one of the journalists was like, Sue, you have the biggest Hollywood story and no one's paying attention. I'm like, yeah, because they were so busy with the sex.
Right, and they're not thinking about all the other stuff.
About business, about intellectual property, about how sex is just a tactic. And I was saying that all last year to the press. I said, no, that's just a tactic. Anybody will tell you, even rape is just a tactic. It's a power. It's for money and power. And so what I've done with my deal, I negotiated my own deal. It's a huge story. I negotiated my own TV deal by myself with no agent, no manager, no attorney. I negotiated a badass motherfucking pro-female, provisions for female that have never been done before without...
And this is what you negotiated with Les Moonves and his people.
The head attorney at CBS Corporation, yes.
So you, Susie Caduzzi, went up against one of the biggest lawyers the CBS had to put up against you.
And you out-negotiated him.
And you out-negotiated him. That's pretty awesome.
Pissed. And they don't want nobody to know. Oh, and the other thing is Les. So I went to meet with Les because I literally, in the back of my head, I was like, I'm going to go face-to-face and see this guy. I'm from Boston. I was like, I'm going to go and sit across from this man.
So you and Les were face-to-face.
I was like, I'm going to go back and I know what he did to me when I was younger with my career, and I'm like, and I'm back. And I went back to see him, and he kept it. I wanted advice. That's all I asked him for. I was not looking for anything.
Right.
And it's this weird thing that they do, too, where you don't want anything. It's also like an abusive relationship. A guy will abuse you into all of a sudden you have a relationship with them for 6 years, and you're like, how did I even get here? I didn't even like that guy.
Yeah. Like, what's going on?
There's so
like, how
many parallels, and because I've stayed calm and stayed steady, and now I can verbalize them. I got through the pain, and now I'm able to verbalize them. So he kept asking me, how are you making a living? 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 I'll never forget. It is so burned in my head. I started blogging, too. You can go to my blog on my website. I started yesterday. I blogged today. I blogged. I'm going to stop blogging the story.
Okay.
They started shooting the documentary last week about what's going on, about all the work. I mean, it's like...
So you got a lot going. There's a documentary. There's a blog.
Or something. And they were saying it to me while it was happening, and I didn't know what everybody was saying to me because I had to just keep going. I had to just keep doing what I was doing because if I messed up one tiny bit, they would have squished me.
Yeah, so here you are, like you just said a little while ago. You're not full college educated.
No.
You're a comedian who could sense people and sense the temperature of the.
Yeah, my dad was a labor mediator.
Your dad was and you have street smarts. You have the working class street smarts. You know
what my friend who's a cop said to me? You know what he said to me? He said, Sue, your street smarts got you out of that office with Les Moonves. He said that to me, and I was like, what? That's what's going to be interesting is the more I tell the story, because we don't tell the story, because we get abused and we're muffled, but I'm like, I'm not going to be quiet anymore. And then more people start telling you different aspects of the story, and you're like, that's where you get free, because you're like, oh.
Right.
People see the aspects, and they're like, oh, that was going on. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even know because I was so close to it.
Right,
So, my street smarts.
The street smarts got you through.
My gut.
And then your status as a comic and all you worked for got you into this Les Moonves scenario.
My talent.
Yeah, and your talent. And here you are, and then you out-negotiate a top lawyer for CBS, and then they started giving you the runaround. And this is like right before it all went down with Moonves.
What they were going to do is they were going to use me to throw me in front of Les and say Sue was in the office with them and nothing happened, and she was 2017. All the other stories were earlier. But you have to understand something. So then the Les article comes out, and first of all, the Harvey article comes out after I leave Les's office. I tell him I'm broke. I did it on purpose. I said I'm broke because I was like throwing the steak at the lion. I was like, let's see what he does with this.
Right, because if he knows that you're broke or assumes you're broke,
watch how they behave.
He's going to then know he could take advantage of you, perhaps not in a sexual way.
No, this is financial
way.
This
like
is
he could own you.
Behind the sex
right.
stuff. And who knows? But the money is behind the sex stuff.
Right.
They don't want us to have that, and they'll just take whatever they can take. And
right.
He was like, he wanted my play. He was like, film me play.
Yeah.
And when he said that to me, I was like, that's a motherfucker. I just told him I don't have any money. And I sat on that couch and I was like, okay. And the energy changed in the room, and I think it was a power switch. I think I got the power when I didn't ask him for money. Is what happened.
And then
because he started auditioning for me and acting weird and la 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 la. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go.
Well, take me. How was he? What was he like? So when the power switched and now you're in control. Les
It was
Moonves
I
started
didn't
trying.
know what was happening. I'm
Yeah.
telling this in hindsight.
Yeah. So
I
he's
didn't
trying to
know.
like sell you, like, hey,
Yes,
Sue,
you got to
and
see
he's
this.
literally.
Did you see my show? Did you see my show that I
Wow.
did on Showtime? And I said, no, I don't watch other people's show. I don't want to be influenced
Yeah,
by it.
right,
And then
yeah.
they got even more. And then he's like, don't sign any deals, don't sign any deals. And inside I was like, give me a deal, you motherfucker. And I got on the other side of the road, the door, and I remember this surge came through my body, and I was like, it is on. And I didn't know what was on. And he even
Right.
said to me, I remember his body shook. When we stood up, his body like kind of shook, and he was like, I think you're ready for what's about to happen to you. And I remember thinking, maybe neither one of us knew what was about to happen to him.
Right.
And maybe he knew he was going to try to fucking come crush me. I don't know, but
And how soon
was
after?
ready.
Yeah, I know you were ready.
I was ready.
But I don't think he was ready.
no, I don't think he was ready. They never calculated in a million years. They never even put it on, and that I might not do what they bet the house that I would do. They bet it. They bet the house.
Yep.
They bet the house and they were going to throw me in front of all the other women and make me go against women.
And that was the dumbest. They wanted you to be like their token to say, hey, Moonves made a deal with Sue. There was no alleged sex involved in any of this stuff, and she's one of us, right, Sue? And then they want you to be a puppet.
Sue fucked Les.
Yeah.
Sue fucked Les. Why did Sue get that deal? Sue fucked Les. And then all my negotiations would have went out the window too. So they would have made me look like a whore. You would have lost all my intelligence, all my intellectual property.
You would have lost
everything.
your reputation and all that kind.
Everything.
everyone
And the
would-
press was coming after
yeah.
me too. That's the other thing. This guy was writing an article about my comeback, and as soon as Mark Maron edited my WTF and dropped it the day before the article came out, and he made it sound like I loved Les Moonves, and then they lied to me and said they didn't do it, and I'm like, you guys, we're going through you can't gaslight me. This is like.
So for Marin to want to edit the interview, what would be his motive? Do you think?
It's almost as if my whole year last year, while going through all this with all the men, the guy at the WGA, the entertainment attorney, it's almost like they were covering for each other because they all kept saying, you're going to take us all down, Sue. And I was like, what are they talking about? I didn't even know what was happening.
And this is all accredited mainly to your negotiation skills, or the fact that you wouldn't be their puppet. Like, what do you think's the most?
They were all noticing that I had 30 years of experience of being a woman and that I was still very much put together and I don't miss a fucking trick.
Right.
So then they were like, uh-oh. Usually by now we would have had to go mental and be bitter and angry and everybody would be like, oh, she's just bitter. And now they're like, oh.
Right. So
It's almost like I feel like they were like, how'd she get out of the cage? Costello's out of the cage. Costello's out of the cage. They called each other and they're like, Costello's out of the cage. Costello's out of the cage. And people are like, Sue, how'd you get out? I'm like, I just walked out. The door was open. I just went, oh, hi, everybody. Yeah, I've been in the offices with these men. I was in the hotel room with Mark. I was in the office with Les. I was in the office with the entertainment attorney who cornered me. I mean, it was really gnarly. And I was like, this is like the suffrage time. I'm like, this is really crazy.
So where are we?
It's overwhelming, I know.
Yeah, it's a lot.
know.
There's a lot to the
I know.
puzzle. Where are we now with it? What's going on with?
Well, now everybody's going to try to tell the story. My whole purpose was to get the story out. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to tell the story. I wanted to get the story out so nobody can abuse you in the dark anymore. And then from there, I still have my show. I'm going to make my show. I'm going to still do what I set out to do. That's what everybody needs to know. All I wanted to do was make my show.
Right.
And they did all this crazy, disgusting stuff, and I'm still exactly where I was before, where I just want to make my show. And I feel like that speaks to women who work 9 to 5, people who work in McDonald's, people who work everywhere, men, everybody who just wants to do their job and not get completely fucked over every single day.